I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, March the 20th, brought to you in part by Macrocin by Bimeda. Macrocin stands up to pioneer products in big trials. You can check that out. It's proven efficacy at an affordable upfront price without all the BS. End of story. For more information, go to macrocin.com. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards. Joplin has been on a roll. I mean, absolutely on a roll this year since the whole calendar year. Got another big run. 8,000 head they're expecting. Going to start early. Be selling by 6. Be on bunches by 7:30, I assume. Lots of yearlings. And these yearlings are going to run out, guys. It won't be very long before all the available cattle will be turned out. There'll be no yearlings coming off of anything for a while till we get mid to late summer. So you need to get those orders filled, get those pens filled with these yearlings. For more information or to check out Joplin, view and bid their sale, go to dvauction.com. Also, the Oklahoma National Stockyards got a lighter run, maybe 5,200 is all for their sale. Order buyer Jeff Berkwin will be there, as he always is, be filling orders there, and he's working all through the week, order buying cattle both in the sale barns and in the country. Didn't find out till recently that he is buying chickens on the weekends, and there's a big demand for that, as high as these eggs have gotten. But if you need to get some chicken orders filled, you can talk to Jeff Berkwin. He hits those chicken sales on the weekends. Speed bump, and I think that's really all this was. We were down in your fed cattle market last week, down in your feeder cattle market. Not terrible, but we fell off. It's the first time we've been lower in your fat cattle for about 6 weeks or so. And I think it was just a speed bump here because we've had a lot more bullish, and eventually you can get so much bullish you just have to take a little breather, take a little break. We had a major packer scrambling for cattle Friday night and Saturday morning. It's the one I affectionately call the farmer's friend. Hate to see them scrambling for something to hang on the hooks, but indeed they were doing that, and they were paying the extreme top of last week's market, which was lower, and it was only 165, but still, when they're scrambling to do that over the weekend, some guys were saying, hey, don't call me after 8 o'clock at night unless you got $1.70 in your pocket. But still, that shows how short bought these packers are. They tipped their hand again. We had some more bullish data that came in late last week that I don't even think we've gotten ready to absorb yet. But these carcass weights, your information come in Thursday. It's always 2 weeks behind. That's one of the things Price Discovery and Transparency Act would do, is to expedite that. These packers know exactly what those carcass weights were the next morning. Why do we have to wait 2 weeks to have that information? But 2 weeks old information showed that our average dressed steer carcass weight was 20 pounds lighter than the same time a year ago, coming in at 899 pounds. 20 pounds lighter on the carcass may not sound a lot to you, but under the kind of harvest that we've been showing here, steer and heifer harvest, that is 10,000 head of cattle per week short of what we were getting the same time a year ago. So these packers are getting 10,000 head less product because our harvests are running very similar to what they were a year ago. They are short of that product. There's not that many fewer orders out there. How long can they keep going short of that without ramping up their harvest and getting more aggressive buying cattle than what they've been? I think we're going to get right back on track here pretty quick, guys. Not sure it will be higher this week, but I think we'll still shore it up, and I sure think that we're continuing to be on the incline, gaining ground. We're less than $10 away from our all-time record high established direct market at 173, and I think we're going to hit that and go on past it after we do. Feeder cattle market was lower last week also. Had a lot to do with the pressure on the fat cattle market there. But on Friday, we had a bullishly neutral cattle on feed report. cattle on feed report. Just hitting the marks that these analysts are putting out there. They've been very aggressive here for the last several months, and we've been hitting those marks and meeting them. We did that again on Friday, and I think you just have to recognize how bullish the data is. But your on-feed inventories, March the 1st, come in at 95.5% of the same time a year ago. Average of the analyst guess was 95.6. That's bullish. Not big bullish, but it is. Your placements were sure bullish. Your placements during the month of February come in at 92.8% of a year ago. That's almost 1 full percentage point to the bullish side for the cattle market compared to the average of the analyst guess. And marketings come in a little bit short, and I'm not sure why that is, because they've got all the information in front of them, but it come in at 95.0 compared to your average analyst guess of 95.8. But like I said, bullishly neutral cattle on feed report. You get to diving into the numbers, and you look at your cattle on feed compared to a year ago in your big feeding states. Iowa has got 100% of the same time a year ago. Nebraska only 94%. Kansas 98%. Texas 95%. In Colorado, even though we don't get any market information out of Colorado due to confidentiality and the lack of trade and price discovery, Colorado is only feeding about 90% of what they were feeding this time a year ago. Your placement numbers, if you break down by weight groups, all of your weight groups were lighter because our placement numbers were less than 93% of a year ago, so you would figure that all your placement weight groups were lighter, but the lightest yet was your 700 to 900 pound range of placement cattle, and that is your most typical range right there. So, it's bullish information. I think we needed a little breather there. I don't know if the board's going to bounce right back. We're just in a fear right now, and with higher interest rates, these investors, these funds, and they're the only ones that's on the long side. Nobody within the industry is really going to be on the long side of your cattle futures. But people are getting kind of fearful when you get banks collapsing and things like that. And they can look at something that's really safe, and with a higher interest, you're getting a better return than what you're kind of used to, so they're running to that. But it frustrates me whenever I see people look at the futures market and call that the market. That is not the market. The market is your cash market, what somebody is willing to pay for something at that particular time and that particular day. That is the market. We're just in the infancy of this bullish market, guys. It's going to be good for a long time, and we're going to see these prices get higher. Whether they take back off this week, like I think they will, I don't know. But how cool is it that K-State is in the Sweet 16 and KU is not? I've told you guys many times, I cannot root for a school that doesn't have an ag department. And so, K-State's a great cowboy school, great ag school there, great for the cattle industry. They do a good job. And I spent way too much time in Missouri not to develop a hate for the Jayhawks. It goes back to their history, guys. You can go back and check it out. But let's look at your board for last week. Your April live cattle contracts. Monday was down 72, Tuesday down 50, Wednesday down $1.50. Thursday was back up 80 cents, and Friday down just 2 cents. Very quiet on Friday, with April live cattle futures ending the week at 162.32, down $1.90 for the week. That's kind of typical of what your cash market did too. June contracts ended the week down 2 1/4 at 156.40. I find that hard to believe that we're going to back up that much here at the beginning of the summer when people get their grills out and really go to buying this beef. Especially whenever we're 10,000 heads short just down on our carcass weights. Hard for me to believe that. But feeder cattle, March feeder cattle, which is not hardly traded at all, but it's still the spot market, Monday was down 65, Tuesday down 90, Wednesday down $1.72, Thursday was back up $1.30, and Friday off 65 cents, but March contracts ended the week at 188.85, down 265 for the week. April ended at 194.72, down $3 even. Your May corn ended the week at 634 1/4. That was actually up 10 cents a bushel. December new crop ended at 561 1/4. That was up 3.5 cents a bushel is all. But let's talk about your fat cattle trade. Up through Thursday of last week, 54,300 head, which is pretty decent movement negotiated up through Thursday. And then we had a little bit more trade on Friday, and then some more trade on Friday night and Saturday morning. So live sales of steers and heifers direct basis in your 5-area feeding region ranged from 161.5 to 165. That was steady to $3 lower. Your weighted average on live steers up through Thursday was 164.11, down a little more than $1. Dress sales from 260 to 265. That's $2 to $3.50 lower, and your weighted average on dressed steers was 263.81, down about $1.50 compared to your weighted average the previous week. Friday we had light trade up to 2 o'clock, and so then there was some more trade later, but we'll find that out on our next visit when they get the total wrap up. But Iowa, 1,800 head on Friday, 20,500 head for the week up through Thursday. 164 to 166. We hadn't seen the 166 all week until Friday. I told you guys, the longer you hang on, the better market you get. 164 to 166, so that wouldn't be as much lower there. If you see what just happened on Friday. Dress sells at 264, which is basically your dress market. Nebraska, only about 300 head on Friday, 21,800 head for the week. The only thing we saw negotiated on Nebraska on Friday was 264 dressed. Kansas, just a couple of loads of cattle, 9,300 head for the week. Live price was 164, and that was basically your market. Texas, no trade on Friday that we know of for sure. In Texas, they may have had some late on Friday, we don't know, but no confirmed sales on Friday. Only about 5,000 head for the week. How long can they keep just doing this little bit of dab of negotiated trade? Yes, they're gathering all the cattle that they have, that they've already had their hands on. All of their formula cattle, all their contracts, everything. They're pulling all them. They're just not buying many cattle negotiated because this market's getting away from them because we're so bullish right now. But box beef cutout values were lower. Weighted average on all of last week's sales on choice cuts, 284.47. That was down 201 compared to your weighted average from the previous week. And then your late week sales on Friday afternoon were about $1 lower than that, 283.35. Select weighted average on all of last week's sales, 273 even. That was almost $3 lower, $2.93 lower than the weighted average from the previous week. And your late week sales on Friday afternoon about 50 cents lower than that, 272.44. Slaughter for the week, 631,000. It's very similar to what we had a year ago, yet your carcass weights are so much lighter, it adds up to over 10,000 cattle less. 631,000 was 3,000 less than last week, 5,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Rec Agra is Mark Rec. He's a ranch realtor there. He has got a listing that you guys, if you haven't already heard about it, you're not checking out, you need to. The Condon Ranch. Bill Condon put that together over 82 years, assembling this ranch near Sterling, Colorado, right on I-76 there, one of the largest privately held ranches in northeast Colorado. The taxes are reasonable on it. It's been well managed. There's lots of grass out there, even though they've been dry in that area. It's a big ranch, 19,000 acres. They're going to offer it up in several different ways. But be sure and check that out. Don't miss an opportunity to buy a ranch like that. And let's keep it in cattle if we can. Talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction ended the week at 188.87. That's based on an 800-pound cash steer in your auctions up through the middle 12 states, running from 7 to 899 pounds, just like your CME cash feeder cattle index. But that 188.87 was down $2.31 compared to the end of the previous week. And that's about what we lost on our feeder cattle. Feeder cattle market in your sales was steady to $3 lower. Your calves were mostly steady, spots 2 to 5 higher on Pee-wee calves weighing under 4.5, and your bigger stalker types, your calf weight yearlings, weighing up in the 6s and kind of just right in the condition, thin condition, hard wintered, just right to turn out on grass here in just a few weeks. But still, the new crops are coming, and they are pressuring your calf weighted averages. I'm not saying it's pressuring your market, because the guys that are wanting to turn those cattle out, not necessarily pushing on the new croppers, but the new croppers are just in a condition that their sheer numbers are pulling the market down a little bit as far as your calf weights, because they're just not as worth as much as those old crop thinner cattle with the condition. Look at your big sale on Saturday, Fort Scott, Kansas there, Fort Scott Livestock Market. It was mostly lower. They're not immune to lower prices. They're going to be just, that's what the market is. I had about 1,900 head of feeders on Saturday there. Still a pretty good sale. Look at their automated market report on Cattle Market Central. They had 266 head of 5-weight steer calves, average 547 with a weighted average price of $218.65, and that's lower, guys, and that's still pretty impressive. Look at 251 head of 6-weight steers, average 646, weighted average price $205.09. 363 head of 8 weights, average 857, weighted average price on those 8 weights $178.47. Like I said, market was lower. Your Zoetta stick out sale of the day for late last week or over the weekend, it was Friday at Dunlap, Iowa, Dunlap Livestock Auction. They had their Western Iowa preconditioned sale. It was better on calves, but not big numbers of calves. But look at the market on them. Look at this automated market report from Cattle Market Central. You see 137 head of 5-weight steer calves in Dunlap, average 541 with a weighted average price of $236.34. My goodness. 193 head of 6-weight steer calves in Dunlap, average 652 with a weighted average price of $215.65. 425 head of 7-weight steers, average 749, weighted average price on all of those $197.64. Look at some of your heifers. 346 head of 6-weight heifer calves, average 650 in Dunlap, Iowa, weighted average price on all of those $185.81. Going to give you a big cross reference of stick out sales all across the country there. My friend Todd Weichert, that I knew early in my career when I was out in Pennsylvania, and he's from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. He's got some sale barns that he's bought there in Northern Virginia, which all of his career he's gone down into Northern Virginia and bought a lot of feeder cattle and shipped them out west and into different orders. But a guy that I met early in my career that I really liked and really respected, and I still do. He goes by Senior now. It wasn't Todd Weichert Senior when I knew him. It was just Todd Weichert, and his dad Bob was the senior in the family, and he was an icon and a legend in stock car racing as a car owner there. But they were good to me, and I appreciate their friendship. But Stanton, Virginia, Stanton Union Stockyards. Todd had a big special there on Friday night. sells a load of commingled steers. Of course, everybody around there got really good cattle, and if you haven't seen Northern Virginia quality, or Virginia as a whole quality, even Southern Virginia, the quality there is outstanding. But 71 head of commingled steers at Stanton on Fridays. They weighed 715 and bring 210 a pound way out east there, guys. How about another good friend of mine, Jack Payne, at Nevada Livestock Marketing. They had their sale, their big monthly special without me again, because I have to run all over the country and do these bull sales, and found myself flying in and out of Cincinnati, Ohio this past weekend, which is out of my comfort zone, but made it back here to the friendly confines. But they got along without me, and as they do, and they had a pretty good special there at Nevada Livestock Marketing for their monthly feeder cattle special. These were put together heifers, stocker type heifers, guys. And this is amazing what these heifers brought. 89 head of them, weighed 633 at 209 a pound for stocker heifers, guys, in northern Nevada. But the most impressive quote that I saw is from another friend of mine. Your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day come from Lexington Livestock Market. My friend Terry Kalk from Alma, Nebraska, had some heifers there, replacement quality heifers he was planning on keeping. Been pretty dry around there, not a lot of extra feed, so he decided to sell a couple loads of replacement heifers. He sells a load in Lexington on Friday. Replacement heifers, 72 head of them, weighed 767 at $2 a pound. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.